Professor, it seems like you're saying the worst is yet to come.
Unfortunately, Iran could be closing a strait of Bab al-Mandeb Strait in Yemen. So there could be new generation of ballistic missiles that Iran has not used. This is an Israeli war. Trump was foolish enough to provide soldiers. New generation of leaders in Iran, military leaders, political leaders, don't want to see two nuclear regimes attacking Iran every few months.
Do you think there will be the threat of a third war against Iran?
Yes.
Foad Izadi isn't just another voice in the Iran conversation. He sits at the intersection of academia, strategy, and state narrative. At a time when the Middle East feels like it's one misstep away from a wider rupture, his perspective offers a rare window into how Iran is thinking. A professor at the University of Tehran, he questions the real intent behind ongoing diplomacy and hints at how the worst is yet to come. If you are trying to understand not just what's happening on the ground, but what could happen next, this could be a good starting point. Professor, good to have you on the show. The last time you and I spoke was in the early days of the war. You're speaking to us, of course, from Tehran. How is the mood in the country today? And have you witnessed any kind of a shift in the last 8 weeks of the war?
You know, we have these crowds coming out at night in millions. This is what actually Netanyahu asked the Iranians to do. And they are, but they're shouting against Netanyahu and Trump. There is this rally around the flag effect. People are worried that the negotiations that the U.S. is talking about is another deception operation. Iran was in the middle of negotiations 2 times, once in June last year, another one in February when United States attacked Iran. This time in Islamabad, they did not attack in the middle of negotiations. They placed a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz about 24 hours after the negotiations ended. Blockading a country under international law is an act of war. And 24 hours before the next round, they started shooting at Iranian ships. They took over an Iranian cargo ship. That is, of course, an act of war. So people here are wondering whether this is an opportunity for U.S. and Israel to take a break and basically prepare for the next rounds, or if they are serious about negotiations. The signs that they are serious about negotiations are not that good, because they think that they can shoot and talk at the same time. So I don't think the Iranian delegation will go to Islamabad if that impression is not changed.
Professor, you spoke of international rules. Is it legal for Iran to block the Strait of Hormuz?
Yes, under Article 17 of the Convention on Law of Seas, the passage of these ships need to be innocent passage. I'm quoting, it doesn't say passage, it says innocent passage. And under Article 19 of the Convention on Law of Seas, it defines innocent, and it means that the ships that pass through these straits are not supposed to be threatening the security of coastal states. The Strait of Hormuz has 2 coastal states. It's Iran and Oman, not the United States. U.S. is about 11,000 kilometers away. So Iran has the right to make sure that the ships that go through the Strait of Hormuz are not threatening its security. And we have this state of war. Iran was checking ships, allowing ships to go. We had Indian ships going, Pakistani ships going, Chinese, French. You know, we had this French fertilizer ship going. Trump administration is pressuring the Europeans to join him in his illegal war. But when French had a choice between fertilizers and Trump, they chose fertilizers. No one is really on board with this war against Iran. And this was going on until the United States said that they're going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz for Iranian ships. And that's not going to really work out. You cannot expect Iranians to watch ships pass by, and the only country that cannot use the strait that is in Iranian territorial waters. You look at the Convention on law of seas, it defines territorial waters to be 12 miles. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles. You add 12 and 12, that's 24. 21 is less than 24. So the Strait of Hormuz is not in international waterways. This is an international passage. So you have ships, international ships going through Iranian territorial waters, Omani territorial waters, and Iran has that authority under international law to make sure that they are not threatening Iran's security. And what Iran is doing is totally legal. What the U.S. is doing, attacking other countries, killing their leaders. We have lost more than 3,200 civilians, 150 hospitals, 20 universities, bridges, railroad stations. That is illegal. And Iran, under Article 51 of the UN Charter, has the right to defend itself. It's called the right for self-defense.
What about charging a toll? Is that legal?
It could be. It depends on how you call it. If you are a member of this, if you are a party to Convention on Law of Seas, then you are not supposed to collect money under the title of passage fees. We have Turkey doing that, collecting tolls under the title of passage fees, but Turkey is not a party to Convention on Law of Seas. We have other countries like Australia, like Canada, like Denmark, that collect fees. They call it pilotage fees. So they force ships to use some service of the coastal country, and they charge for that service. And in the case of Australia, they charge more if it's a tanker, having the idea of tankers may have environmental damage. Iran is not a party to Convention on Law of Seas. US is not. Israel is not. The Iranian legislature is studying a bill to make sure that some form of toll, whether it's called passage fee or pilotage fee, is leveled at ships of the countries that are responsible for billions of dollars worth of damage on Iran. That includes ships that belong to or carry products from these Persian Gulf states. They provided bases to the United States. We had the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, U.S. Secretary of War, saying that they were fighting with U.S. shoulder to shoulder, and he's right. They were fighting against Iran, helping the United States. These damages have to be paid for. Who's going to pay for it? The countries that attacked Iran and helped this illegal attack on Iran. The other option is that they pay for all the damages outright, but no one expects them to do that. The only way Iran can collect that money is through leveling some fee on their ships as they go through.
So Iran thinks that, practically speaking, the United States will never pay for reparations.
I don't think they will do that. They are supposed to. You are not supposed to go on a rampage, killing people, killing their leaders. You know, the other day, Trump had an interview with the Financial Times. He said that he wants to take over Iranian oil. The reporter asked him, why would you want to do that? He says, I'm a businessman. I like to make money. He's not going to make money. He's not going to get Iranian oil. Either he or his friends in the Persian Gulf will pay for all these damages.
Professor, this war is often called as an asymmetric war. But if we keep the military aspect aside, how do you think Iran has stood its ground?
It's amazing. You know, the United States spends 100 times more on its military in comparison to Iran. And this is Trump speaking. He said that he thought that the war would be over in 3 days. And Iranians fought for 40 days. The other side asked for the ceasefire, not Iran. And we had this New York Times report the other day saying that 60% of Iranian missile stockpile is still available. So Iran, if the U.S. engages in these attacks on Iran, they did it yesterday, Iran has the capacity to continue defending Iran for many months to come. And that's the only choice that the United States has given Iran. They are asking for capitulation, and Iran is not available to do that. And the other option is resistance, and Iran will continue to do that. And Iran's uh, tolerance for pain is much bigger in comparison to the United States, because Iranian soldiers are fighting for Iran, they're fighting for independent countries, BRICS countries. One reason Trump wants to take over Middle Eastern oil is to use this oil as leverage against independent countries. So tomorrow, if they have some disagreement with the Indian government, they would use the leverage they have on Persian Gulf to get whatever they want from the Indian government. So Iran is fighting for Iran. Iran is fighting for the civilized world. The other side, American soldiers are fighting for Israel and the Epstein class. So when you're fighting for civilization, your tolerance for resistance is much greater than the people who understand that this is not America's war. This is an Israeli war. Trump was foolish enough to provide soldiers for a war that Netanyahu wanted to fight against Iran for many years.
Professor, become our lens into the Iranian administration, because it's becoming difficult for even American analysts to understand the U.S. strategy because of its fickle nature. How do you think Iranians are dealing with it on a day-to-day basis?
Iran needs to, and this is how I think they're calculating, that the option of defending the country, the military strength of the country, should be there, because we are dealing with Trump. You cannot.
But are you only dealing with Trump?
Sorry?
Is the Iranian administration only dealing with Trump? What about the U.S. administration as a whole?
He's the president, he's the commander-in-chief, and the people that came to Islamabad the other day, he chose them. And then, of course, you have the U.S. Congress, but the U.S. Congress is more in line with Israeli demands than others. So Iran has to talk to people that are representing the other side. So we have this emphasis on military capacity. There is an emphasis on this popular support that is very helpful. When you have soldiers risking their lives to defend the country, when they see the population they're defending is coming to the streets every night and supporting them, that's a big help. So these two components, military strength and popular support, is going to make sure that Iran will survive this assault. Iran has been around for 6,000 years, like India. It's an old country, and invaders have come and gone, and the country has continued to live. Iran will continue to live many years after the Epstein class has destroyed the United States.
These millions of people that you're talking about who are coming out on the streets every night, as you claim, are there any demands these people are keeping from its own government?
Yeah, they're saying, be careful, don't trust the Americans. People are worried that because of political pressure, the government officials will do something that is not in line with Iran's interest. And you don't have to take my word for it. We have in almost every corner, every circle in Iran, this is a local thing. So people come out of their house and go to the nearest circle. So you have tens of thousands of circles and sites in all Iranian streets. These are nightly gatherings. People come out to show their support for Iran's military. They're holding flags. And this is normal. If India is attacked, you would have the same thing happening to Indians, supporting their military. The Iranians are like Indians and other nations. This is very natural. And Iran has 90 million people, so millions of people show up every night.
I understand. I would actually love to speak to one of them. But Professor, last time we spoke, you had said that you didn't think Mojtaba Khomeini was a front runner to become the next supreme leader. In fact, you took it one step further. You said that you weren't sure if he would even accept if he was made an offer. He did. Why do you think he did?
This is what he said, that he was not interested in the job. We had some reports that his father did not want him to be the next leader. The revolution came out of a kingdom system, so we don't people were careful not to have a process that will result in a son replacing his father. The reason, and he was elected by this assembly of experts, 80 some people who are elected by people directly. And I think the reason they elected him was because they realized that his ability to bring consensus among different political parties and factions in Iran is greater than other candidates. I think this is why they chose him. And although he did not want the job, my analysis was accurate. This is what he said. He said that he learned about his election through news media. He was trying to avoid
Through
taking
news
over
media?
the position. Sorry?
He learned about his election through news media?
That's what he said. He issued a statement after the news was announced, and he said that he was not interested. But it was the majority of this 80-some people who elect the leader in Iran that he was the best candidate. So that's why he has this position now.
Many analysts also believe that he's much more radical than his father. Is there any truth to that claim?
Yes. What we can say is for 100% is that he is not less in terms of opposition to American imperialism. He is as tough on the United States as his father, and yes, there are some people who believe he's even tougher. We have a new generation of leaders in Iran, military leaders, political leaders, that don't want to see two nuclear regimes attacking Iran every few months. The previous generation of leaders exercised a lot of strength. After General Qasem Soleimani was assassinated in Iraq about 5 years ago, they exercised restraint. No American soldier was killed. When Ismail Haniyeh, the heroic Palestinian leader, was assassinated in Iran, no U.S. soldiers were killed. When Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon was assassinated, no U.S. soldiers were killed. After the 12-day war, we lost over 1,200 civilians. No U.S. soldier was killed because Iran exercised restraint. Iran had a lot of missiles, as you know. Iran could use these missiles, do what Iran did last time. The reason Iran did not do was because they wanted to exercise restraint. The people who exercise restraint are no longer with us. This new generation of leaders are going to use Iran's leverage, whether it is ballistic missiles, a Strait of Hormuz, other leverages that Iran has, to make sure that US and Israel stop attacking Iran. So they're going to be tougher to the other side because they see exercising restraint with Americans and Israelis doesn't really work.
Professor, what I'm hearing is here is a supreme leader who did not want this job in the first place. On top of that, he has a reputation of being much more tougher than the previous supreme leader. How do you think these things are transpiring into the decisions Iran is taking in this war?
The decision is going to be resist until the other side realizes that they need to change policy. We don't see any change of policy because we see the United States is not negotiating in good faith. That is also international law. 1969 Vienna Convention, Article 26. When countries negotiate, they need to be negotiating in good faith. When you shoot at the other side right before the next round of negotiations, that's not negotiating in good faith. The countries that negotiate in good faith lower rhetoric against the other side. Trump uses profanity on Twitter when he talks about Iran. That's not lowering rhetoric. So we don't see any sign that the United States has decided to change its failed policy. Not yet. We are hoping that he realizes that and he can go over and take over Greenland or Canada or do other mischief. But I don't think he has given up on achieving some goals with regard to Iran.
All right. The Speaker of Iran, Mr. Ghalibaf, said in a recent social media post, and I'm just quickly quoting from it, "We do not accept negotiations under the shadow of threats, and in the past 2 weeks, we have prepared to reveal new cards on the battlefield." What cards is he referring to?
Iran could be closing a strait of this Mandeb Strait in Yemen. That's an option that Iran has. Iran's types of ballistic missiles are more extensive than what Iran has used already. So there could be new generation of ballistic missiles that Iran has not used. That's another card. And so far, Iran has just responded. So when the United States attacked Iranian banks, Iran attacked American banks that are nearby Iran. So Iran's response has always been proportional in response to something that the US did. And Iran doesn't have to do that. Iran is the victim here. They can take the initiative on things that the US hasn't done. And so that would be another possibility.
Professor, it seems like you're saying the worst is yet to come.
Unfortunately, we don't see any sign that Trump is learning a lesson. I don't think he realizes that this is a failed policy, and I don't think we are done with Trump trying to take over Iranian oil yet. Hopefully, he will realize that's not going to be possible.
You touched upon this briefly in your first answer, but let me put you this again. What are the chances that Iran will attend today's peace talks in Islamabad?
Iran needs to get some assurance that the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz is lifted. If the US can do that, you'll see Iranian delegation going to Islamabad. If they want to continue engaging in these acts of war, blockading other countries is an act of war under international law. Iranian delegation will not go. This is the Israeli definition of ceasefire. In the last number of months, we have had a ceasefire in Gaza, and they have killed about 800 civilians in Gaza under ceasefire. So the definition that Israelis have is that you can have ceasefire and they can shoot at the other side. Iran is not going to accept that definition. Ceasefire means ceasing fire, means you're not supposed to be shooting at Iranian ships.
I think the American vice president will disagree with that, because after the last round of negotiations, he had said something on the lines of that the ball is now in Iran's court. And they strongly feel that it's now Iran's duty to live up to whatever standards that is being set, and only then will the war end. How do you look at that?
I think Trump and Vance are new candidates to be indicted by international courts in Hague. They are joining their friend Netanyahu. Netanyahu has already been indicted for war crimes. Attacking in Iran in this manner, attacking civilian infrastructure, makes you a candidate for being indicted for war crimes and being convicted for war crimes. And this is the choice that Vance has. He can continue this failed policy, or he can realize that he's young. He shouldn't be engaging in killing civilians in the manner that he and his administration has done.
Professor, one of the reasons that the US and Israel have used to justify their war is because they accuse Iran of promoting regional terror. Do you think Tehran backs Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi in any capacity?
It's an honor for Iran to help resistance organizations that are trying to free their land. Israel has occupied Palestinian land under international law. Armed resistance to free a country from foreign invasion is very much valid. The US and Israel call Hamas, Hezbollah terrorist organizations. They have been doing it for many years. That doesn't make them terrorist organizations. I can call some party in India a terrorist organization. It doesn't mean that they're terrorist organizations. So labeling organizations that are trying to free their land terrorists, that doesn't make them terrorists. Who are the terrorists? People who attack elementary schools, killing 165 little girls with American Tomahawk missiles. That is terrorism. That is a state terrorism.
But Professor, let's go beyond labeling. Let's go beyond labeling. You have been constantly referring to the international laws, and international law does not permit funding armed resistance.
No, you are actually, if you see a genocide, and this is what we witnessed in Palestine, countries are not supposed to be just watching. you're supposed to be helping to make sure that genocide ends. This is the Genocide Convention. This is international law, supporting organizations that are fighting genocide, fighting occupation. There is no limit on international law. Just because, as I said, just because they labeled an organization terrorist doesn't mean that you cannot help those organizations. It is an honor and a duty for Iran to be able to help this organization. Iran will continue to do that.
What do you make of Pakistan being a mediator of this war?
The US, I think, wanted Pakistan to be the mediator. They have close links with the Pakistani government. And, Pakistan is a neighbor of Iran. Iran accepted. The hope that Iran has is that they can act as an independent mediator. The hope that Iran has is that because of the influence that the US has in Pakistan, they would not side with US when things get tough.
Do you think China is influencing Iran through Pakistan?
I think China realizes that if the US gets away with taking over the Middle East, they are going to use that leverage against China. So China realizes that the US should not be able to achieve these goals through these means, through attacking other countries. Russia, the same thing. Russia's access to global south is through Iran. Turkey is also available, but Turkey is a NATO member. So they realize that the US should not be able to achieve these goals. And any these BRICS countries, whether it's China, Russia, India, they should worry if the United States is able to use Middle Eastern oil to pressure them. That should be a big worry for these independent countries. The US doesn't like large, powerful countries. In forecasts we have in about 25 years, India becoming the second economy in the world, United States becoming third. They're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. So then this is why you see pressure on India during this new Trump administration. The reason they're doing that is because they don't like large countries that are powerful. And they want to sabotage these countries' progress. They don't like the progress that they see. And if they take over Middle Eastern oil, they're going to have a very powerful tool to achieve that goal.
Professor, there is also talk that US might put Pakistan on the spot to join the Abraham Accords and normalize ties with Israel after this war ends. What do you make of that?
They are interested in doing that, but I don't think the Pakistani people will accept that. I think the popular support, the public opinion would be so huge that the Pakistani government will not do that. And you see what happens to the countries that already joined the Abraham Accords. Instead of US helping these countries, they are helping US instead of these bases being used in benefit of these countries. These US bases are liabilities for these countries. So the countries that followed United States dictates are not doing that well. And I don't think Pakistani leaders know better. I don't think they would do that.
Professor, before I wrap up, the way diplomacy is moving, say we have a truce and this war ends eventually, do you think there will be the threat of a third war against Iran?
Yes. I think, the plan that Netanyahu and Trump have is a 4-year plan. We have had about, 1 year and a few months into that plan. So I think they're planning for the next 3 years or so. And yes, I think they're planning to attack Iran again, even if this round ends. I don't think they have given up on taking over Iranian oil.
All right, Professor Izadi, thank you so much for joining us on Hindustan Times. Always a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. Bye.